All right, well, that's Seth Kamens, and I'm Sean Palmer, and we're Seth and Sean Sports Radio. How you doing, Seth?
I'm good. I think we got a decent amount to talk about today.
Yeah, we do, and I'm not really sure we're going to get to it all. I think we have our NBA draft. I don't know what we call it anymore. Guesswork here
mock draft inevitably going to be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, everything and anything is going to be wrong the way that we pick it. But the fact is, we do this every single week. First of all, that's Seth Kamens over there. I'm Sean Palmer over here. Seth and Sean Sports. You can find me at SU Lawyer 2001. Seth at S Kamens, and we have a banner somewhere that says all this. So, hey, there we go. Okay, and you can find us on Facebook and Twitter if you'd like to. And we are always welcoming new guest hosts in the next couple of weeks, as I'm not really sure if I'll be able to host from Alaska, but we'll certainly try that, making it yet another state or another country or another region that we host the show. I think that'll be fine.
You should host it from that high school where the 17-year-old swimmer won who beat Lily King.
How awesome was that? That was
great.
Chills. That was chills, right? I mean, literally, that's what the Olympics is all about. Those things.
You mean it's not about the U.S. beating Iran by 55 in basketball?
No, it's definitely not about that. Look, we can talk about Aaron Rodgers next week. I think that's what we right, because Aaron Rodgers is going to be Aaron Rodgers throughout training camp. And the question is whether he shows up today is a bigger question than anything else. But we can certainly talk about that next week. Let's talk about USA basketball. Let's talk about the Olympics as a whole. And let's talk about, the thing that's on everybody's mind is Simone Biles. So let's start with Simone Biles. So we know what Simone Biles has done throughout her lifetime, right? She is a sexual assault victim. She has recovered. She was adopted. She is the best gymnast in the world and possibly the best gymnast of all time based on medals. And for those that are not paying attention to the Olympics, and there are a lot of you out there,
which is weird to me.
You see,
what else are you going to pay? What else are you going to pay attention to right now? The free agency. That's your brother,
and that's me. That's definitely
yes.
me.
But you're also paying attention to the Olympics.
I am but the fact that first of all, let's touch upon that. 12 hours in a different direction. Very little live that you're watching unless you're getting up at 8 a.m. to watch it and finding the right channel, right?
You mean this Japan-Thailand badminton game that I have on the other screen is not live?
No, but it actually is live. Probably. No, it's 2 a.m. It's definitely not live.
It's 3 a.m.
Yeah,
here.
it's 3 a.m. No, but I'm saying like USA basketball on Sunday, when you're trying to find the 8 a.m. game and it's on Peacock or it's on NBA Sports, is not exactly the way to get viewers. And that was the way to get them with the triple cast, right? Where there was only one way to get it. And that was the way before the internet in which you were not privy to the results. But I am not watching a tape delay game at 8 o'clock at night that happened 12 hours before, knowing that they lost. Even if they won, I still wouldn't watch the game. Right.
No, I was trying to watch it on Sunday morning and didn't realize that it was on a Peacock feed. And Peacock, for those of you who don't know, is the NBC, streaming, which you have to pay for. Now, I don't have a problem with people paying $5. It's $5 a month. I don't have an issue with it, but I'm not paying for it to watch the Olympics when I have 97 hours a day of other stuff to watch.
Agreed.
And we've talked about this in the past. I don't watch the Olympics for the big sports. I don't watch for soccer. I don't watch for basketball. Although I did watch the 3-on-3, which was really pretty cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would. But I watch it for the water polo and the team handball and the stuff that I don't normally watch. And that to me is the fun of it. I'm happy to skip the US-France game.
So why don't you give us a little recap of what happened with our favorite gymnast, or at least what most people think is their favorite gymnast, and other people it's a dichotomy of sorts.
It's the gist of it is Simone Biles was doing a vault, and vault she never misses, and because she never really misses anything, and she took a big step on it, and Her score wasn't great. And then she withdrew. I mean, she talked to the medical doctor, she talked to her coach, she talked to this, she talked to that. And she just decided mentally she was fried and withdrew, leaving the U.S. in a bit of a precarious situation, which they were able to get the silver out of. But it's kind of a mixed bag of, okay, she has every right to withdraw. And especially on the individual side, I'd have had no issue with it. It's a little bit more unclear, the impact of leaving with the team when you're pretty much fighting for the team goal as opposed to the individual accolades.
You'd be surprised. I've gone back and forth in my head whether I'm okay with this. And at first I was like, yes, your mental health is very important. I get that. And then I'm like, okay, it's a team sport, and you committed to a team, and now you're backing out on the team. And I get that part too. Let me ask you this. If this was a professional athlete that did this, would you have a different opinion? Well, if this was the NBA Finals and this guy's getting paid $20 million to do this, is it different?
Yes. It different? It is. It shouldn't be, but it is.
Okay, so Kevin Love, who has gone through very publicized mental struggles, is a good word. Mental struggles. If he one day said, you know what, they're in the middle of the NBA Finals, and I'm burnt out, I'm done, and I walk off the court, and I'm not going to play in the finals. Do you have a or Susan Bird, right? I'm not going to make this a male thing. Let's make it a female thing as well. Sue Bird from Syosset High School. So look, I proud of the torchbearer. But if she walked off the court and said, I'm done in the WNBA Finals, do you have a different opinion of her than you do Simone Biles?
I think so. Because they are a professional and this is what they are paid to do. Simone Biles is paid by her sponsors, not per se paid by USA Gymnastics. I do have a problem when you have a team depending on you when you do this.
Agreed.
That's the issue. If you want to withdraw from the individuals, that is your decision, and I support you 100%. When Naomi Osaka withdrew from the French Open or in Wimbledon, and we went back and forth, but at the end of the day, there was no one else impacted but her. This, you can't say the same. Now, would I have had the same? And it's kind of it's a chicken and the egg. If the U.S. had won the gold, not the silver, would I have had the same issue? I don't know.
I think I would have. I think it is a concept of, as you said, it's a team sport. And by her, look, she didn't know she would be fried. You can't make that assumption. Right. But she did take away the spot from somebody else. Mm-hmm. Right? And that, to me, is kind of like you're playing with 5 guys on a basketball team and everybody else is fouled out and you just walk off the court and you're playing with 4. And as much as Gene Hackman said in Hoosiers, this is my team, a team with 4 does not win a basketball game.
Most likely not.
99.9% of the time, unless
they're playing in the 3x3 tournament.
Or or in Space Jam, which may occur. But the fact is, I think you are absolutely right. I think it really does hinge on whether it's the team event or I have much more of a problem with the team event. Now, just remember, Simone Biles is 16 years old?
She's in her mid-20s.
Oh, is she?
She's we just said she won the most. She's won the most medals in history.
Sorry, I'm comparing her to somebody else. My bad. The fact is, you're right. Team event, and that's where I'd come down. If she was younger, would you take this as different? If it was her first Olympics, would you take this as different?
Do you have something on in the background, Sean?
I have absolutely nothing going on in the background. So I'm hearing stuff from you. So I've closed every screen.
There we go.
Definitely.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
So if she was a 14-year-old, if she was a 15-year-old, would you have a different respect?
Probably, because she's a kid.
Yep.
And regardless if she's performing in a professional capacity, and look, I realize it's still amateur, but it is performing in a professional capacity. She's a 14 or 15-year-old kid. Again, it really, to me, hinges on the team versus the individual. And pretty much by doing this, now I don't. And now look, I don't know if she could have withdrawn herself prior to. I'm not an expert on gymnastics team rules. I don't know if she could, if they committed to the 4 people a certain time period before the event started, and she couldn't have withdrawn with 2 or 3 days before, or if she could have withdrawn 5 minutes before and had one of the alternates take her place. I don't know. But she's not 14. She's not 16. She's done this. And, look, she needs to take a year to get herself together. I get it. Between what's happened with U.S. gymnastics and, the pressure of the world, which she feels. I understand it. And but the team part, also the issue is that all the gymnasts were okay with it. Now, again, they may have felt they needed to be.
How are you not okay with it? That if you're part of that team, right? It's kind of like the Bulls in the 1990s not being okay with something Michael Jordan did. Yeah, in the moment, nobody's going to say, yeah, you know what, Michael, he just left us in a lurch when he retired. Right? That was bad. That was really bad. But 10 years later, I'm sure you might get somebody that says that, where it's not in the moment and you're not talking about basically the best player in the history, one of the best players in the history of basketball. So I think that history will dictate how this changes. I did like how certain pro players and other athletes rallied to her support. And look, mental health is important. I just have a problem with the timing of it all and the fact that it is a team sport. So
it's kind of where I am.
And I was surprised by my thought process as I went through this in my head, where I was originally, yes, you know what? You take care of yourself. Absolutely, you take care of yourself. That makes a lot of sense. And then I was thinking back to the basketball analogy where you take yourself off the court and you leave 4 guys there. And you're kind of like, well, you can't really play with 4. So you commit to a team. Okay, speaking of teams, some teams are going to definitely benefit from the NBA draft, and some teams are going to. Well, you would hope, right? And one of them is the Detroit Pistons, because if they don't benefit, they got a problem. There is no Anthony Bennett as the number 1 pick in the draft this year. No Michael Olowokandi. There are 4 top players in this draft, maybe a 5th. And Seth, I have brought up the spreadsheet. I'm going to let me get that. So I'm going to share the screen with the spreadsheet. Hold on 1 second, please. And how do I do this? We'll go this to this. Bring that up there. And now we have our spreadsheet. So we'll share that. So here's our spreadsheet. I think I can blow this up. Yes. All right. So with the number 1 pick in the draft, the Detroit Pistons select
Dave Bing, Syracuse University.
I love the pick. I'm already enthralled with the pick. Go with that. Let's continue with that. Who do you have with the number 1 pick in the draft?
They're taking Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State.
Is there any debate on this?
No. Would I do it? Probably, but not for the reason you think. I would. My favorite player in the draft is Evan Mobley. But Detroit. That's not the guy Detroit needs. They need the point guard, They need a backcourt because they don't have anybody. They do have Jeremy Grant, who's a front court player who's kind of similar. I would take Mobley, but I think Detroit's taking Cade Cunningham.
So I think what Detroit needs is a face of a franchise more than anything else, right? They have Killian Hayes in the backcourt, who I think will be who I wanted the Knicks to take last year. I think he is a very good player. And if you remember watching the NBA draft with me last year, it was anybody but Obi the entire time.
It was fun.
It was fun for you. It was not fun for me watching that. And if the Knicks are trading Obi Toppin in this week's draft, I am a very happy camper if they package that with 17 and 19. I do not have that happening. I think there will be very few trades in this draft, as there is always smokescreen around draft trades, but very little actual trading that goes on. I have incorporated one of the trades that has already been pronounced, or at least Wojciechowski has done that. But I'm taking Cunningham too. Look, you're absolutely right that Mobley may be the best player in this draft. But without a point forward or without a point guard to get him the ball, Mobley doesn't make his own shot. Nope. And that's the biggest. If you're counting on Killian Hayes to do that, that. Look, as much as I liked him last year, and as much as I still do like him, Killian Hayes is not a sure thing. And he came over from Germany last year. So you got a sure thing, as sure can be with Cade Cunningham. You take him first in the draft. What are your chances? What do you think the percentages are that this pick gets traded?
Detroit or Houston?
Detroit.
0.
Okay.
They've already turned down Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the first round in their number 6 pick overall. I'm not sure. I think that. Yeah, I'm not sure that that's a smart move, but that's neither here nor there. Right, but you're not going to get much better at that point. You're not going to get much better for that pick. I don't see Houston. I mean, Houston has a bunch of picks, but they're not going to trade it to Houston. Cleveland's not going to trade up for it, and Toronto's certainly not going to trade up for it.
Let me ask you this: if Houston offered next year's first round pick along with it, would you? If you're Detroit, do you do it?
Depends how much you like Jalen Green.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm gonna take Jalen Green right here as the number 2 pick. They have Christian Wood, who was a phenomenal player for them last year when he was healthy. Hopefully Excel doesn't die on me right here. That would be a shame, since I didn't save this. But the fact that here comes the little screeny thingy.
Do you need me to do it? I can do it on mine. I have my spreadsheet up here also.
If you got your spreadsheet, let's share it to you. I'm going to remove this. You go to add, go to the share. You can definitely keep tabs of this. This is called technology at its worst. I'm hoping this might recover my information, but we'll see. But I'm taking Jalen Green number 2. We can continue going on. I think. Well, let's see if it popped back up. So let's. I'll just share it back in a second. So
mine's plugged in, so I should have no problem if you want.
Hold on a second.
We should also explain how we determine.
Oh, why don't you do that while I bring this up? Why don't you do that?
So the way we've done this for the last 9 years, God, we're old, is it's on a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 point scale. If you get the pick exactly correct, you get 5. If you're within one position, you get 4, 3, 2, 1, so on and so forth. And the winner is the person with the most points. We did this with football. I think Sean beat me by 2 points last year. Sean typically beats me.
We're both pretty even when it comes to this. I mean, it's especially in the first 5 picks, right? Because
I think our first 4 are going to be the same. The 5th one, maybe not.
Yeah, I just froze again. I think we got to use you. So
how do I do this?
So go to the bottom, go to share.
Yep.
And then pick the screen that you are sharing. There you go. Now blow it up on the bottom right where it has the percentage, where it's 100%, bottom right.
Okay, wrong one. Hold on.
Yep.
Here we go.
Okay, good. Go to the top. So I'll talk about the trades when the trades come because I have those in here as well. Okay, so I have Jalen Green. You have Jalen Green. 3 is going to be Mobley for me. Well, it's your pick, but I'm
It's going to
picking
be Evan
Mobley.
Mobley.
It's going to be
I
Evan
don't.
Mobley.
The problem is, I find this fit so awkward with Jarrett, with them having Jarrett Allen. I know they're planning on playing the two heavy and trade. I assume trading Kevin Love, but it doesn't feel like It doesn't feel like a great fit. It feels like the best player out there. But when you're gonna have Jarrett, when you're gonna most likely re-sign Jarrett Allen for $80 to $90 million, do you really need something redundant?
Look, I think Cleveland would love to get a move up to Green, and if the thing is, if they pick Suggs, they have Darius Garland and Colin Sexton in the backcourt, who Colin Sexton averaged 20 points a game. Garland was a top 5 pick a couple of years back, and they still believe in him. They're trying to get the best players around. They have pretty much a clean cap sheet once they get rid of Kevin Love, that Sexton's going to require almost max money. And so we'll find out whether they believe in him or not. 4th pick, look, the top 4 are 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to be Jalen Suggs. If in some order, these 4 are going to be 1 through 4.
Bear with me one quick second.
What are you doing?
I have to look at my. I'm taking out the sheet because I already typed up who my players are on the other sheet.
No. All right.
Right.
I could try sharing again, but
I'm just going to move it to Word doc. It's fine. Give me 30 seconds.
All right. So you have Jalen Suggs number 4?
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good look. They need a more. They don't. Toronto's in a much different position. They don't need a hell of a lot. They could use it. They need a guard because with Kyle Lowry coming off, most likely leaving Toronto. There we go. They need.
I just removed the blue screen, so when you get it back on, we'll put it back on.
All right, okay, I'm back up.
There we go. All right. So Jalen Suggs. Lowry's going to either New Orleans, which would be an amazing selection for them to work with Zion. But that would mean the removal of Lonzo Ball, which may be, a Knicks dream that Lonzo Ball is being renounced, that he would be on the open market because that's the type of player the Knicks would want.
Yes.
Or he's going to Dallas, which is where he's from, which would be an interesting mix with Luka. The question is, how much money are you willing to pay Kyle Lowry? 4 years, $30 million, 3 years, $30 million. That's a lot of money for a guy that's on I won't say the last legs, but this is the last contract, the last big contract.
He's on the back end of his career.
Sure.
Let's call it what it is.
Okay, picking 5th, Scottie Barnes out of Florida State. Love these very long guys from Florida State. And Orlando seems to love these very long guys from Florida State. They just love long guys. Athletic guys like Aaron Gordon. I think Barnes,
Jonathan Isaac when he's healthy.
Yeah, Jonathan Isaac. He's a defensive guy. I like him. I think he's the safer pick between him and Kuminga. Yep. So I'm picking him there. And again, Orlando's the one that gets screwed. Look, it's really a 4-player draft, and they got the 5th pick. So they need one of these top 4 players to base their. It's a 4-player draft.
Look, they're a team that traded their best 3 players: Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, and I'm forgetting the third. They have Evan Fournier.
Yeah,
they have very little talent, so they can go for the best position available, and they can go for as young as you need because they're not going anywhere for the next 2 years.
Sure.
So I have Scottie Barnes as well, and as you said, going to a team that has all the time in the world to build up. Oklahoma City, I have them taking the 18-year-old from the GUE, Jonathan Kuminga.
As do I. Here's the thing about Oklahoma City. They have so many picks. Is there a possibility for Oklahoma City to trade up, and is there a place for them to trade up? I mean,
they could probably trade. they could probably trade up to 4. I don't think because Toronto again doesn't have the same needs that Detroit, Houston, and Cleveland does. But my guess is that they are pretty tight on Suggs. And if you're Oklahoma City, who you have one player for all intents and purposes, right? You got Gilgeous Alexander,
who happens to be Canadian, by the way.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to trade him for. You're not going to trade Gilgeous Alexander for the 4.
You're who? So
Oklahoma City is not trading Gilgeous Alexander for the 4.
You sure about that? So Oklahoma City. So here's the thing about Oklahoma City. Their time frame is definitely different than everybody else right now, right?
Sure.
Their time frame is 5 years from now. It's not today, and it's not in the next 4 years. Gilgeous Alexander is going to be on a max contract very, very soon. And
he's 2 years in?
I think he's got another year, and then they get the extension. So
they won't hit the NBA floor.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, you
can always get guys to hit the floor. Let's understand that. Like the floor is.
I'm available for $12 million a year.
You can always get guys to hit the floor. If you are Toronto and you're offered the 4 for Gilgeous Alexander, you do it in a heartbeat.
You're talking Oklahoma. You would do this in a heartbeat?
No, I'm talking Toronto. You're Toronto.
You do it in a millisecond. I agree.
Okay. Now, if you're willing to give up the 4 and next year's first-round pick, if you're Oklahoma City, do you do it? Toronto's first-round pick next year.
Probably.
Now, that would have to be done after the draft because of the Stephen rule. But I think that could happen. And I think Oklahoma City would love for that to happen. So then they would have the 4, the 7, and the 19. I'm not sure they have enough room on their roster, but they'll get there. They could always.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about that.
They could always.
All right, so we're on to Golden State, who has Minnesota's pick.
Correct, and this is the Andrew Wiggins trade. That was
this is the D'Angelo Russell trade. I thought.
This is the Andrew Wiggins trade, which was the same as the D'Angelo Russell trade.
Was it the same?
They got traded for each other.
That's right. I completely blacked on that.
I was like, hold on a second.
Golden State's in a weird position.
Yes.
They're not. They don't seem to be enthralled with James Wiseman, but they're probably not trading him. You have Green at the 4, Wiggins at the 3, Thompson, assuming comes back at the 2, and Curry at the 1. You go for, I guess. You lose Jordan Poole. You need, I guess, some supportive scoring. Plus, you don't know if. We assume Thompson will be healthy.
Sure.
I have him taking James Bouknight from Connecticut.
As do I.
Okay, this is annoying.
Well, once we get past the 8, we'll be fine.
No, I think once we get to 8, this is where it all
changes.
Right.
This is where it ends. So, number 8, Orlando has already picked Scottie Barnes. And I have them going for another wing because Lord knows they can't have enough wings on that team. And I have them picking Moses Moody. Are we still together?
No, we're not. We broke up.
Woohoo!
I think they really wanted Bouknight, to be honest, because they have no scoring. I have them staying young and remaining athletic. I have them going with Keon Johnson.
Okay. In Sacramento always wants shooting. They always want shooting, right? Look, Buddy Hield may be traded. He's been on the trading block since he signed that extension, and they got rid of Bogdanovic, which may have been the worst internal trade that the Kings have made in a very long time. They have Tyrese Halliburton, who again, another guy I wanted the Knicks to get.
I was going to say your ultimate hell from the Knicks last year.
Obi Toppin was. I see them taking some outside shooting, but big outside shooting, and that's Franz Wagner out of Michigan. How are we doing?
We're splitting up a little. I do have Sacramento going kind of with the wing shooter.
Okay.
I have them taking Moody from Arkansas. I don't love it. I don't like. I always kind of see these weird positions between 9 and 15 where like Moody's a 3 and D guy. There's not massive upside. We know what he is. He's a
Yep.
freshman. We know what he can be for
Yes.
the most part.
Yep.
And is a 3 and D guy really worth a top 10 pick?
Well, you're basing it on potential and whether Sacramento needs a 3 and D guy to begin with. I mean, that's another question.
They don't need backcourt. That's the one thing they don't need.
And they don't need a backup center. They have plenty of backup centers.
I debated having them go with Kai Jones. I played with that a little bit.
Okay.
From Texas.
Sure.
But especially with Rashard Holmes, I think not playing very well and being a free agent, Bagley's been a disappointment. But at the end of the day, that doesn't seem to be the way they go. The way they typically draft. All right, Memphis.
So we got So this is via New Orleans, which is the Steven Adams trade that's going to go down this week, or at least in the first week in August. I have them taking Josh Giddey out of Adelaide, Australia. It's very simple. It's upside. When you got guys that it's just pure upside, and I think they traded up actually to get into this spot to get Giddey.
I do too. I have them going there as well.
Okay. And we have 28 minutes to go through what?
20 picks is easy.
20 picks? We got it. Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead for Charlotte.
Charlotte, I went back and forth between do they go shooter? Do they go Franz Wagner? Do they go big man? Having lost Plumlee, they don't really have much on the big man side. I ended up going big man and going Kai Jones.
And you and I both had the same one. Look, we got number 9 is different so far. Okay, San Antonio. San Antonio loves to farm big men, and they love to farm international big men.
Oh, crap.
Alperen Sengun. I mean, because why should I be able to pronounce the San Antonio player? And you probably have the same guy.
I do. That's why I was typing it in before you even finished. So, Indiana, new coach. They have a nice front court with Sabonis and Miles Turner. Who knows if they're going to trade one of them? McDermott's a free agent. They need the 3. Levert. They kind of need the 7th man. Brogdon. It's a good team. They just need supporting, and I think Franz Wagner is a good supporting.
Oh, hallelujah. We're not going the same guy. I'm in the same boat. I think it's a wing guy. I think it's a guy that can shoot, and it's Corey Kispert out of Gonzaga because, again, Indiana likes those guys that are more upperclassmen, like the Malcolm Brogdons of the world. And I know they didn't draft Brogdon. I get that. He came from Milwaukee. But they seem to like guys that have stayed longer in college. For whatever reason. So I'll take Kispert, who was a senior at Gonzaga. Golden State with their 2nd pick. So we both have them having book night. I have them picking a point guard here. I think it can either go with this guy or Chris Duarte. And the fact that Duarte plays the exact same position as book night means I'm not taking him. So I will take Davion Mitchell, the point guard out of Baylor.
And that was the one hesitation I had with taking Duarte, which is who I did take. The reason I do is I think Book Knight's going to take a couple years to develop. Duarte's 24. I think you throw him in right now.
I agree with that.
Look, what'd you say?
I agree with that. I think Duarte is the guy that can make the biggest statement right now.
Yeah. I believe also this kind of it's that 2-3 combo, which we talk about all the time. And it may open up the opportunity to trade Wiggins, which I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Washington at 15. Washington's kind of in a weird spot. Supposedly Brad Beal for the first time is seriously considering asking for a trade. It's not going to happen, obviously, in the next 36 hours. But what Washington needs is, Washington doesn't have shooters except for Beal.
Yeah.
Westbrook is not a shooter. Bertrand is an okay shooter. I have him going Corey. I think they need a wing. I have him going Corey Kispert.
Totally agree with you that they need a wing. I just don't have Kispert available, so I will go with Keon Johnson. Look, if you're the Wizards and you're trading Beal and you think you are at some point going to trade Beal, first of all, you need a replacement for Beal. That's number one. And number two, Keon Johnson's 19 years old. I mean, he fits the timeline with Rui Hachimura and Denis Avdija, the last two lottery picks that they have, a little bit more developmental. Oklahoma City, who does not need more young players. But they
have no choice because this is where they are.
Right.
Unless you think they're trading the pick.
No, but I think they may stash the pick. I think they may.
You think it's a foreign player?
I do. I think it's Usman Garuba, who's a 6'8" big out of Real Madrid in Spain. Yeah, I think that he's a guy that they can draft and stash. And I don't think they just need more young players. They just have way too many to begin with.
And speaking of young players, I do have them going young player.
Of course you do.
Because I do. Because also Jalen Johnson, if his head is on straight, and that's a big question. This is a guy who changed high schools a lot, dropped out of Duke, is a top 5 talent. So at 16, I think it's worth a shot to see what they can do with him. New Orleans at 17.
Yes, and this comes via Memphis again. So
this is via the Memphis trade.
Yep.
I have them going.
By the way, that Oklahoma City pick that just came, that was via Boston for the Al Horford and Kemba Walker trade. So,
yes.
So Boston does not have a first-round pick, much to the chagrin of our Mark Rubin.
Of Mark.
Okay.
Well, we look at New Orleans, and they have Brandon Ingram. They have Zion. They just traded for Jonas Valk. I can never pronounce his last name.
Yep.
Who's the center? Lonzo Ball is a free agent, and most likely will not be returning. So I have them going point guard, and this is a team that needs defense badly. So you take the best defensive player in the draft, Davion Mitchell.
Yeah, I can't find a place here for another point guard. Like, I could put Chris Duarte in there, but he's a shooting guard. I could put Jared Butler in here, but I don't. Jared Butler's medicals don't fill out for right now, so I have them taking the thing. I mean, it's a wing guy. It's a wing guy. And when I look at the wing guys and I say, okay, who can contribute today? That's Trey Murphy out of Virginia, who can contribute today. So before we get to the Oklahoma City pick, because hell, we need another Oklahoma City pick, is the fact that where this Oklahoma City pick has come from. So originally it came from Miami, then it went to the Clippers, then it went to the 76ers, then it went to Phoenix, and now it's back, and now it's with Oklahoma City. This originally started, my friends, with Miami trading for Gordon Dragic from Phoenix way back in 2015. And this was one of those picks that when it was to Miami, to the Clippers, to Philly, it was one of those picks that was it's completely unprotected. So it was one of those picks that everybody was like, we need this pick because it's an unprotected pick. It had no restrictions on it, and it wound up as number 19, which lends you to say, you know what, sometimes not all draft picks are worth the same. So I stashed one, and now I'm playing with another because I stashed number 16, and I'm taking Jalen Johnson, your guy that you had at 16. I'm taking at 18 for Oklahoma City. For the exact same reason you just said. It's just I just got him 2 picks later.
So I'm going with again, Oklahoma City is just all about upside and young talent, which they have time. So I'm taking another guy who is did not have a great freshman year at Stanford, but the expectation is that he will become a really, really solid player. Zaire Williams.
By the way, Nabate Owls just said Jalen Johnson would be a steal for Oklahoma City. He would be the rookie of the year with that team. Space and opportunity. Well, any rookie that plays is going to get an opportunity on that team.
In Oklahoma City, absolutely.
Unless you're a point guard. So really, unless you're a shooting guard too, because you got Kemba Walker on that team. So I mean,
well, but Kemba Walker is going to be traded at the deadline
somebody,
to a contender,
a bag of peanuts.
Yep.
Okay, the Knicks. Well, the Knicks need one thing more than anything else: a guy that can put the ball in the hoop, a guy that can make his own shot. And this actually works out well for them. And Seth, you got him going at 14. Chris Duarte just falls in my draft. And if you're the Knicks and you're looking at Chris Duarte, how do you say no here?
Did he fall because you're a Knicks fan and you kind of want to see him fall?
No, he fell because if he doesn't go to Golden State at 14, I don't see where else he goes. He doesn't fit in the Washington timeframe. He doesn't fit in the Oklahoma City timeframe.
No, he would fit in New Orleans timeframe.
Maybe in the New Orleans timeframe. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That may be where he would fit. So I have him going to the Knicks, which is surprising being he's 24 years old. So, I mean, that's the – but
Thibodeau hates young players anyway. That's never been his way.
No, my thing I was going to say is if Duarte was 21, he'd be a top 5 pick.
Yeah. So I have the Knicks. Well, the Knicks need offense. The Knicks need shooters because they don't have any.
Yep.
So I have them going with Trey Murphy.
Okay. We're pretty much there. Atlanta. Look, Atlanta needs nothing. I mean, it's just, they have young players all around. Maybe they need a backup point guard. I don't see a backup point guard here. I just see another wing guy. I mean, and if you're going to look for a guy that might potentially you trade Cam Reddish, you look for a guy that can maybe step into Cam Reddish's shoes. And I think that's Zaire Williams out of Stanford, 6'9" wing. I'm not sure they keep this pick because, again, how many guys can you have that are under the age of 25 on your team? I don't think Atlanta, since Vince Carter retired, has anybody over the age of 25 on their team.
The one thing Atlanta may need is, depending on what happens with John Collins.
Correct.
We don't know if they're going to have the 4 available because there's a good chance he goes to Dallas. You know, we've talked about this. He's looking, he wants 4 years, 115, 120 million. Not sure Atlanta's going to give it to him. So Atlanta would need a replacement at the 4 because they have a million wings.
Yep.
They have a couple centers. They could use a backup point guard, but you can get a backup point guard in the second round. There's a bunch of them available. I have them going with the best 4 left, which to me is Garuba from Real Madrid. He has a $3 million buyout, I believe, and it goes up $1 million each year. So if Collins stays, then you have a guy stashed, and we see what happens. If he doesn't, you have potentially your starting 4.
That's really surprising that it goes up rather than goes down.
Well, I guess it is strange. I don't really know why.
Right. All right. So looking at the Knicks with their second pick, and we got 17 minutes and 10 more picks. So we're well on our way. Look, you have the Knicks, you have a CAA client, you have a Kentucky guy. The whole team is damn from Kentucky. The whole front office is Kentucky. How is this not with Mitchell Robinson maybe leaving after next year? How is this not the 6'10" center from Kentucky, Isaiah Jackson?
Wait, you mean there's a connection between Kentucky and the Knicks?
Absolutely not.
I don't understand.
Zero connection.
Yeah. I'm looking for scorers. I'm just looking. I don't know what I have with Derek, don't know if Derrick Rose is coming back. I'm going with youth on this one. I'm going with Jade Springer from Tennessee.
And, by the way, that second pick, was it the second or the first pick? It was the second pick was from Dallas from the Kristaps Porzingis trade.
Yep.
So now we're in the Lakers pick. The Lakers are looking at maybe Dennis Schroeder leaving, maybe. They can take a risk. And I think they do here, and I think it's Jared Butler, the junior out of Baylor.
I have them going guard as well. I have them going Trey Mann.
I love Trey Mann. Like I think he is probably the best shooter in straight up shooter in the draft. I'm a big fan. If the Knicks picked him at 17 or 19, I would not hurt for that at all. And in fact, I have him going to the Rockets with the next pick in 23. The Rockets, like you said, there are teams that need shooting, and the Rockets need just about everything. So I'll take them with Trey Mann, who will play either once John Wall leaves or with John Wall.
Yeah, I mean, Houston. There's not too many wing guys at this point that I'm looking at that are left on the board. It's a lot of guards. Guys like Herb Jones from Alabama is probably begin early second round. So I have Houston going guard. So I have them going Sharif Cooper from. Again, I don't know. I have a feeling there'll be some version of a buyout with John Wall or something along those lines. This team is just to have John Wall at $40 million a year for the next 4 years. Is it, Sean? I mean,
it's a lot. It's a lot. I think it's 45 this year.
Oh,
I'm going to look it up right now, but I think it's 45. So Spotrac, he's got a 4-year, $171 million contract. This year, he's only got 2 more years, by the way. So this year, he's 21-22 is at 44.3. Right, exactly. And then if he picks up the player option, right, it's $47.3 million. Wow. So in the next 2 years, he will be earning $91 million.
Okay, then.
Right. So with that in mind, wow. With that in mind, I have them taking Jaden Springer at 24 because much the same as you, I think they're looking guard because they need guards.
Makes sense to me.
And I think Eric Gordon's the first one out of there, by the way. I don't think it's John Wall. I think it's Eric Gordon.
Yeah, I actually have him taking Jared Butler.
By the way, this pick, the 24 pick, came from Portland in the Robert Covington deal, and the 25 pick came for P.J. Tucker in the Milwaukee deal. So it's awesome that Milwaukee picks 25th after winning the NBA title because it's all based on regular season, not postseason at all. Now we have the Clippers, and the Clippers have one way to supplement their team. Guess what that is? The draft. Because they don't have anything else. And after this year, they really have no picks in the draft. They have trades with Paul George where they have to give Oklahoma City all their picks or all their swaps. So I think this was actually a swap that didn't work out for Oklahoma City. So they kept what they had. And I have them taking a guy I cannot pronounce for the life of me. Ayo Dosunmu.
The point guard from Illinois.
The point guard from Illinois. Yes, sir.
Actually, it makes a lot of sense.
Every once in a while, I do that.
Except you couldn't pronounce his name.
I don't need to pronounce his name. I'm not broadcasting.
Fair enough. Well, there's 2 ways you go if you're the Clippers. You go backcourt, or you go 5. You're certainly not going 3 or 4 between George, Mann, and Leonard, although Leonard's out probably for most of this year. I'm going best talent available, which I think is Day'Ron Sharpe, the center from North Carolina.
Now we get into the even bigger question of the Denver Nuggets, who, again, have never been shy about going international. And I'm going to pick another international player who I will mispronounce this guy's name, but he is a point guard. And he's a point guard, and that is something that they need because Jamal Murray may not be 100% at the start of the year. Rokas Jokubaitis. That's awesome. I love that. Out of Zalgiris. So I'll take him because you know what? Why not? It was either him or Josh Primo. Much easier name to pronounce. I could have gone that route. But again, a point guard. You did not spell that at all.
I'm not. I'm not trying to. He's not on my list.
Okay.
So, I'm actually kind of playing with changing my pick. I had Denver taking Josh Primo.
Are you
But
changing your pick because I said Josh Primo?
no, I had them taking Josh Primo. But I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I'll stick with it. Josh Primo from Alabama.
Okay, you get to pick the Nets pick first because I'm interested to see who you are picking for the Nets.
Well, there's two ways I can go. Again, you can. I kind of think Brooklyn needs a guy who can play tomorrow. They got it. Their window is solid. Their window's not tiny, but they're not looking for a 3-year project.
True.
I think Miles McBride is probably the guy. He can play some D. He can shoot. It kind of makes sense to me. It's a logical pick to me. And he plays defense, which is even nicer for him.
I had either Miles McBride or Cam Thomas. But I will go McBride as well because McBride is ready to play. Cam Thomas is going to take a little bit of work. They're both point guards, which is kind of important because when you have a guy like Kyrie, who we never know is going to play or fall off the flat face of the earth, we're not really sure how that's going to work. Okay, Philadelphia, another team that may look to trade this pick. Look, any of these last 5, the Clippers, Denver, actually this is 6, the Clippers, Denver, Brooklyn, Philly, Phoenix, or Utah, I could definitely see trading these picks. And because they don't need these 18-year-olds that are on my list whatsoever. They need guys that can play today. A guy that may be able to play today, at least will back up today, if nothing else, is Sharif Cooper for the 76ers. And if they trade Ben Simmons for, say, a CJ McCollum package, which would be awful for the 76ers, but if they did, he would be able to step in. That's all you, buddy. All right, there we go.
Hold on.
What the heck is going on there?
We got construction going on here, man.
Oh, well, sorry. So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you own a house and it takes a year to buy a generator. To get a generator. It came in today. All right. So Philly needs scoring desperately. They need a third scorer behind Tobias and Embiid. I'm going with the young gunner from LSU, Cam Thomas.
I got a question for you. Did you hear about the reported ask from Philly to Toronto for Ben Simmons?
I did not.
So supposedly Daryl Morey calls up Masai and says, I'll give you Ben Simmons. You're going to give me the number 4, Kyle Lowry, OJ Anunoby, and Fred VanVleet. Right. What do you think Masai did to that one? I think he just hung up the phone. That's a stop. Look, there would have to be filler because there's a lot of salary that's being massaged in there, especially with Kyle Lowry. But who do you want on the Philly team enough to make that deal besides Ben Simmons? Tobias Harris?
Taboose?
Okay, so Taboose and Maxey each earn about $1.3 million.
You're asking who I would want.
Right.
I get it.
But let's even put those two guys in. Would you do the deal even with those two guys? Taboose, Maxey, Simmons for VanVleet, Lowry, Anunoby, and the 4 pick? I'm still going, what the heck are you smoking?
No, I think it's more in the ballpark, but no.
It's nowhere, to me, it's nowhere close. I think if you took out OG, yes. But I think OG definitely puts it over the top. And I think if you're Philadelphia, you want OG because he does the same defensively that right. And the problem is when you give up Tybal, you're giving up that defense again. And you're not getting anything back.
You're converting from a defensive team to an offensive team for the most part, which isn't really where you go. All right, so we have 2 teams left. We got Phoenix and Utah. So Phoenix, having seen what Jalen Smith brought to the table last year, is replacing him already with Day'Ron Sharpe, the 19-year-old freshman out of North Carolina.
I had to do it. It was just perfect.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right, exactly.
Phoenix is in a weird place because your whole draft is contingent on whether you're signing resigning Chris Paul or not.
Yeah.
If you're resigning Chris Paul, I think you don't need very much. If you're not resigning Chris Paul, you're going point guard because they don't have one. So I'm going to I want to get the spelling right. There we go. I'm going to go with, man, I butchered that one before. So I'm going to get this right.
Oh, my God. You really did butcher it before.
Well, no, I know exactly who he was. I just didn't know that. I didn't know his name started with an O or a D.
So I think Nabate has commented again. Let's see what Mr. Isles has brought to the table.
What do you say?
He said, "Great job, gents, other than the I'm not a broadcaster comment." He did say he'll send us a pronunciation guide. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Isles. We appreciate that. We'll see you. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll be protecting this year. No, we'll get to that in a couple of weeks. And Utah with the last pick, I think they have to protect against Mike Conley. I think they do. If Conley goes, they're in a whole lot of trouble. And because of that, and he's gone in a couple of years anyway, I think it's Cam Thomas out of LSU.
See, Cam Thomas to me is more of a 2 than a 1.
But they have Donovan Mitchell, so they don't really need a 1.
Which is why I don't think the pick makes much sense.
Okay.
Jesus. Hold on.
This is pretty fun. I like this. It sounds like we're like underwater here.
It does. Okay. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, they lose. I think they re-sign Conley. It's if they think they're going to lose Conley, they go with Highland from VCU.
Okay.
I'm going to say that they think they're going to re-sign Conley, which will give them another 2 or 3 years with him, and they go best player available, which is Isaiah Thomas. All right, Isaiah Jackson.
Isaiah Thomas, even better. I love this. Now, which Isaiah Thomas are they getting? The one without the hip or the one without the Achilles?
One without the Achilles.
Okay.
It's a steal at pick 30.
It's just like what was it? Ty Cobb said, right? I could bat 300 today in 1950. Why? You couldn't hit any better? He goes, I am 80 years old. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, just so you remember, 5 points for right on, 4, 3, 2, 1. This does extend into the second round. So if any of the 27, 28, 29, or 30 gets picked in the second round, we'll be going that route as well. Next week we'll have our status on how we did and declare a winner. More importantly, next week we will go through the Olympics and we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers because that is a big deal and it's much bigger in light of our selection or possible selection of protecting him on the Seth and Sean Sports Radio Fantasy League team. Nabate Isles, you did not hear that. We have not made a selection just yet. It is just rumination at this time. So
we got 2 of our 3.
So for Seth Kamens, that guy, I'm Sean Palmer. Seth and Sean Sports Radio here on StreamYard, and we'll catch you next week at a regular time. Have a good one, everybody. See you. Bye-bye.